We're back for another wonderful Friday Night Magic. This is the 24th of May. Our first feature match is Herbie Zingsheim, who has been commentating the last couple of times, against Chris Holdren, who was in last week's championship match. I'm Vince Naimon. With me today is the lovely
Emmy.
We've seen both players already draw their opening hands here. Chris Holdren, I believe, is playing the same deck as he was playing. Never mind, he's playing a completely different deck than he was playing last week. No, I apologize. We just have it backwards. Herbie is on the left. Chris Holdren is on the right. For some reason, I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, I did too. Punks are both confused.
Alright, so Chris is in fact playing the exact same deck he played last week. The Junk Rites deck that we saw him nearly win with. Herbie, however, is playing an interesting variation on a Grixis control deck, playing Notion Thief and Whispering Madness, so we'll see if he can get any of that action going. Fairly uneventful first few turns. Some mana dorks from Chris. Not a whole lot from Herbie. Attacks for, looks like 3. Ah yes, we also have the dice this week, the large dice for showing life totals. That way I don't get confused. Is that a Forbidden Alchemy that Herbie just played there? Herbie's magic land count is 4. He needs to be able to play Notion Thief at the end of his opponent's turn, and then hopefully, during his main phase, play Whispering Madness, cipher it onto Notion Thief, and attack, so he draws 14 cards, and his opponent discards his hand. Olivia's a pretty good answer too, though. As Olivia stares down 3 mana dorks, Chris has to be wondering what can he pull at 6 mana that's going to help him with Olivia. I don't think there's a whole lot in the Junk Rites deck at 6 mana. He needs 7 for Angel. Did Herbie just pass the turn back? He couldn't have. Chris already untapped.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, now we're at 7 mana. We can see the Angel.
No.
I didn't see it in his hand, though.
He's got something.
That's 7 mana. That's got to be an Angel of Serenity. Herbie sees 3 cards in his opponent's hand, plays Rakdos' Return. It's perhaps not the best call against the Junk Rites deck, but you gotta do something. No point in that sitting in your hand all game. Comes in for 8. Knocking Herbie down to 9 life. I'm not sure if Herbie's running it, but Blasphemous Act would be pretty good here. Architect of Thought will save him for a turn.
Doesn't look real great for Herbie right now.
No, but he is running. He is playing against probably the the biggest deck in the format right now, Junk Rites. There's a Sin Collector. Herbie's not going to be happy to see that. He runs a lot of instants and sorceries.
Yep.
Sees a Rakdos Return, a Whispering Madness, and a Ralph Zarek. Chris has to read Whispering Madness because he's never seen that card before.
Oh, wait. It helps a little bit, too, that Chris is a fantastic player.
He is.
Just knowing how to run this deck the way that he does.
We did see him play Junk Rites masterfully last week against Chris Nybor with the Esper Control deck. They ended up splitting that series 1-1 and drawing.
Now, what does Chris side against Herbie? Or doesn't he bother? Just kind of keep going with the aggro?
I think he brings in the other Sin Collector. I think he's only running 2, maybe 3 main. I think he's got 1 in the sideboard. He brings that in for sure. There isn't anything he has to worry about in terms of graveyard interaction. Herbie isn't even running Snapcaster Mage here. Pretty much the goal of Herbie's deck is to stick a Notion Thief and do something with it. Chris is also playing now with no cards in hand, so that Rakdos Return that Chris left there isn't going to do a whole lot. We also see Herbie's life total hasn't changed from that 17. I'm pretty sure it's lower than that now. With that Jace activation, I guess he is playing Snapcaster Mage. That wasn't in the draft of the deck that I saw, but alright. So he's got Dreadbore for the Angel, gets his Olivia back. That's a pretty good answer. He's got 2 mana up to do anything he wants, but that's not going to do anything for Olivia this turn. She needs to actually be placed in his hand. Did you see what Chris drew? Well, Jace's +1 was activated here, so if Chris attacks, he's only going to be able to bring in the Sin Collector for any sort of damage at all. And it says a 1-1, so Snapcaster can block it and kill it. I don't think Hurry's particularly concerned about the Snapcaster at this point.
It did the work that it needed to do, now
Yep.
it's just chump.
Got him that Dreadbore back. Chris is definitely contemplating a spell, though. So whatever he drew is not a land.
Or it is, and he's just really good at hiding it.
In a game one like this, there's no reason to slow roll like that. 5 mana, Unburial Rites, Angel. There we go. I think it's actually pretty smart here to play the Unburial Rites out of his hand, now that he knows that Herbie is playing with a lot of hand interaction. Rakdos Return and Whispering Madness to make him discard those cards. So he might as well play it, get it in the graveyard where he can use it again. This doesn't bother exiling the Snapcaster Mage. It's not doing anything against him right now. That Angel's still going to come over the top. Jace goes for his mini Factor Fiction. Dreadbore, Counterflux? No Drowned Catacomb? I think he does need the Dreadbore against the Angel again.
Yeah.
I haven't seen what else is in his hand, so I can't be sure. Yep, there it is. And he knows that Chris has 3 Unburial Rites sitting in the graveyard here. That's 3 more times he can bring that Angel back, but he's got to have some kind of answer for it. Ralzeric bolts a Mana Dork. course. Herbie scoops it up. Game 1 to Chris Holdren. As we were talking about before, sideboards now. I don't know that Chris has a whole lot that he wants to bring in here. Like I said, a Sin Collector and Loxodon Smiters?
I mean, honestly, with that Angel, it's just kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, and Herbie isn't playing a whole lot of creatures, so that the Angel, you can expect to get back whatever was in the graveyard, whatever was in your graveyard. You want us to take out too many blockers there. I think he might want to bring in Loxodon Smiters, since he knows that Herbie's playing with Rakdos Return and Whispering Madness, maybe Liliana's. I don't think they're in Herbie's deck, but they might be.
What do you think Herbie's got?
I think he's going to have spot removal. I think he's got to have extra spot removal in his sideboard. He's only got the Dreadboar's main, as far as I know. And that's not going to cut it against such a threat-dense deck like Chris's, like Junk Rites. I would expect to see, if they weren't in his main deck, I would expect to see Blasphemous Act in the sideboard. I didn't see him playing a whole lot of Swamp, so I don't expect to see Mutilate here. He's playing 3 colors. It's a little tough to use it. Although he may be running Electrickery in the sideboard, and that would be interesting because it's going to hit all of Chris's mana dorks, so he's going to have to get to 7 land before playing the Angel instead of just having the sources on board in creature form. There might be an Essence Scatter or 2 in Herbie's sideboard as well. If he knows those big impact creatures, he's going to have trouble with. Looks like Chris is considering a fair number of cards there. It's either 2, 3, or 5. He's got 2 piles broken up like that. Probably looks like he brought in 5 or 6 cards. 5 or 6 cards is about what I would expect to see in a deck dedicated to destroying your opponent's hand, but 5 or 6 cards in the sideboard dedicated to beating a deck that is at the top of standard right now. Junk Rites is probably still the elephant in the room, I think. You can't avoid it. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it's there.
It's intimidating. Really, spot removal is kind of the only way around getting...
There aren't any Stifle effects in Standard right now, which means that that Angel trigger, if she hits the board, it's going to go off. And if you respond with instant speed spot removal, whatever she exiled is going to stay exiled. So if that was your creatures...
little trick. Oh, wait. No.
If they were your creatures, you don't want that to happen. If it was your opponent's creatures from the graveyard, you do want that to happen. So maybe we'll see some instant speed removal here. Chris may have sided out a Thragtusk or 2 since he knows that Herbie's not really playing for damage. Last week I think we saw either 3 or 4 Thragtusks in one game. Chris's life total was almost 70.
40 at some point, I remember.
Yeah, he was almost 70. Herbie's trying to figure something out, but I can't tell what.
He's rule questioning for another.
Oh, he's being called for something with judging, I think.
Herbie the judge.
Triggers. Some triggered ability, but I'm not sure which one. Resolving the stack in stack order, which for the old fogies like me, is last in, first out. Or LIFO, as we called it. Back into the action here in Game 2.
Manadork for Chris.
Shock and Manadork. He hasn't moved that die, though. It's still sitting at 20. We're going to see another Shock Dork, like we did last game. Grizzly Salvage. Herbie says go for it. Angel, Sin Collector, another Grizzly Salvage. One land. Is it 2 land?
It might be 2
that
land.
second card from the bottom of another land?
Yeah.
Chris takes the Sin Collector, which I think is smart. Leaving the Angel in the graveyard is probably the best choice here. Another Shock, 16 life, and another Manadork. So we did indeed see Shock Manadork. I'm not sure if Chris is running the version of the deck that runs all 8 Manadorks, or if he's just running 6 or 7, but there are an awful lot of them either way. Land go from Herbie. And again, his deck's magic number is 4. He needs to hit that 4th land. Even more urgently than I realized, because he's running Olivia and Ralzeric and Architect of Thought, along with Notion Thief and Whispering Madness. Those are all 4-drops. Cavern of Souls, probably calling Angel. 5 mana, Thragtusk. Acidic Slime. It's the Watery Grave, of course. You want to triple the mana base as much as possible, in this case by hitting the lands that allow your other lands to come into play untapped. Now Herbie has to play a tapped Drowned Catacomb and pass. And Chris is still keeping him off of that crucial 4 mana. Although I wonder how much of this Chris actually knows about 4 mana being crucial. He did see Olivia, he saw Growl, he saw Jace Architect of Thought. He saw Whispering Madness, he didn't see it played. He didn't see a Notion Thief, though. All of last game, he did not see a Notion Thief.
That's true. He's in there with Manadorks.
Shut up, Paul. You don't know.
1, 2, 3, Herbie takes it. 4 damage. Acidic Slime is actually 2. Restoration Angel, blinking, Acidic Slime. Oh boy. I think Herbie's probably in trouble here. He gets mana from the Sulphur Falls as it dies, and it evaporates. 2 mana, Dreadbore. At this point, Chris is just so far ahead, I don't know if Herbie can recover. He needs to draw 2 more land. I didn't see another one in his hand. And he's sitting on 4 mana spells.
Taking full.
Sin Collector. Is that far and away that he took?
I think so, yeah.
Caesar, Rakdos, Return, Snapcaster, Olivia, Jace, and Ralzeric. Handful of 4-drops, 2 mana. Not gonna get there. 4 damage comes in.
The sample plays itself, but I mean, and another land.
Nope, that's another far and away. Which, while it could be an interesting trick, isn't going to get there. Herbie scoops him up. 2 games to Chris Holdren. Well, he boarded in Slaughter Games. And I can't see that other card.
It's something.
Whatever it is, he wanted to show Chris his tech, which apparently didn't get there because he didn't see it. Also, Acidic Slime blowing up lands, and you don't see more of them. When your crucial number is 4 and you can't get there, you just won't win games. Alright, well, I'm disappointed I didn't get to see the Notion piece, and even more disappointed I didn't get to see Whispering Madness ciphered onto a Notion piece to draw 14 cards.
Yeah.
Anything else to say about this match?
I don't think so. Junkright is a beast.
It is a beast. Got there in 2. Both pretty quick games.
Hoping with M14 that it kills it a little bit. It's always nice
Might
to see
slow
the
it down a
meta
little
change
bit
up,
by the
but-
Thrag Tusks coming out, but
True.
yeah.
I think that's gonna be harsh for the format taking out Thrag Tusk. That's a nice life thing.
I think it's
a lot of decks that play it.
I think it's going to be lovely for the format to have Thrag Tusks coming out. Oh my god, I don't have to worry about
Reprint it, you jerk faces.
I don't have to worry about 5 mana and another 3/3 when I kill it. Thanks, guys.
It's like when Titans were in game, you're just like, why? Why are we playing with Eternal One anymore?
Yeah.
Can you imagine Junkright with Primetime?
No. I don't want to.
Here, have all the land.
Junkright with Primetime. Grave
Primetime
Titan.
with Resto Angel.
Yeah. Grave Titan, Sun Titan, Wormcoil Engine would have access to all of them.
Oh god. That'd be the worst kind of standard I could think of.
Anyways, we're not playing Titans anymore, but we still have Thragtusk, which is the 5 mana Titan. Since he apparently affects the board state, I think he affects the board state about as much as a Titan did.
It's a little bit easier to kill at least because he's got a tiny back end.
Yep. Yep. Alright, so, nice one to Chris Holdren. We'll see you back here for round 2.